Yo estaba bien por un tiempo, volviendo a sonreír. Luego anoche te vi, tu mano me tocó y el saludo de tu voz.
Hi, I'm Kevin Matthews, Scottish film fan living in England, and all I can say this week to everyone is that we're collectively sorry. We're sorry that David Lynch has passed, and we're sorry about pretty much everything else that has happened in the world this week. Just sorry. I mean, it's not our fault, but we still feel sorry.
I'm Tyler Hosley, and this week I learned that it does, in fact, snow in Florida now.
I'm Dave Gray, and this week I learned that it's just going to snow more in Florida from this point on because there's no more climate regulations in America. And this is Raiders of the Podcast.
Yeah. Yay.
Drill, baby, drill. And cause an oil glut that will destroy the dollar. But that's what happens when you're a Putin sock puppet. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, what I watched this week? I didn't watch much beyond some David Lynch stuff, but I did watch the new Star Trek TV movie, Section 31, and how to say this? I adore Michelle Yeoh. I love that woman so much. She is one of my all-time favorite performers and movie stars, and she should have had a better career globally than she did. She should have a better career now after the Oscar than she does, but whatever. Section 31 fucking sucks. Like, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. If you can't see because there's no video, but if you could, or actually if you go see AC's latest video where I discuss Gamera with him and a panel of amazing, smarter than myself people, you will see my wall. And on my wall, I have 5 Starship Enterprises hanging there. All the A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, A, B, C, D, and E. And a Galileo shuttlecraft. I like my Trek. I did not like Section 31. It was bad. I like heists, and this was supposed to be like a fun Star Trek heist, but like it's terrible. Besides Michelle Yeoh and poor Sam Richardson, who is one of those actors that I enjoy, but I'm guessing his agent hates him for some reason, because besides After Party, he can't really seem to get anything worth watching. Which is, it's a shame, but it's bad. It's terribly written. It's poorly made. The new characters are like, they're less than fluff. It is like whoever wrote it spent like a month locked in a room masturbating to the screenplays of Guardians of the Galaxy because they are desperate to recreate that, but it's really bad. There's no sense of togetherness or camaraderie, and the jokes are atrocious. Like, this person does not have a sense of humor. And then whoever directed it doesn't have a sense of humor or sense of timing or ability to film action scenes. Because the fights, you got Michelle Yeoh, who is awesome, and the fights are just some of the dullest things I have seen so far this year. Which, I mean, granted, we're only 25 days in, so it'll get worse. But at this point, the bottom of my barrel is Star Trek Section 31, and I'm really fucking sad about that, because I spent years really looking forward to what this could be, and it was just absolute shit. Jamie Lee Curtis pops, and I think it's just her voice, but still, if she appeared physically, I blocked it out of my mind. It just sucks. It just sucks. And no one, like, I don't get why anybody signed off on this. It's just atrocious. and they should feel bad for making it. Besides that, I binged an anime series, the first season of Apothecary Diaries, which I absolutely loved. Sometimes Dave just really needs a mystery, but he also really dislikes police and how they are portrayed on TV and movies. So this scratched my itch for a decent, the occasional decent mystery and without cops. I quite enjoyed it. Fully recommend. Season 2 is running now, so I'm probably gonna wait until that has a few more episodes and then binge those also. But it's a good time. Good time was had by me. That was it. That wasn't Lynchian.
I tried to do some David Lynch extra credit this week, but it's been a crazy week. I just couldn't get to any. But I did watch some TV stuff. I started season 2 of The Deuce, which is fantastic. This actually might be one of my favorite HBO shows ever, next to Euphoria. Euphoria is still my number one, but this might be a close second. It's awesome. And I watched the pilot episode of The Penguin, which is great stuff so far. It doesn't even feel like it comes from the Batman universe. It's like a mob film, just in a weekly TV series that just so happens to involve a Batman villain. Colin Farrell is fucking fantastic in it. I love him in the role. And when I watched the Robert Pattinson Batman back when it came out, I was like, I just wanted more of the Penguin because he's awesome and Colin Farrell is awesome. And I'm getting exactly what I wanted. He's great. And so far so good. First episode is excellent. And that's me. Pretty short week.
That's right, Tyler. I'm glad that you passed over the chance to honour more of the memory of Lynch by making sure you had time for The Deuce.
Yeah, well,
son of a bitch.
Sometimes 70s and porn just go to the top of the list.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
No, hold on. When is that not at the top? Oh, no, you're right. It's not at the top of Tyler's list when there's 90s and skateboarding involved. I knew that. My bad.
I think I'm about 3 episodes on The Penguin. I've been enjoying it, but I think I need to be more constant in my sort of scheduling for it because I'd already forgotten some little details. It's good. And then we watched the pilot of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith show this week, which we enjoyed. I can't remember who the female star is, but Donald Glover's in it as well. What do you guys say, Dave? You guys say, oh, you're the only person who enjoyed it because it's a big heap of shit.
No, I was just going to say it's a big heap of shit. I'm sure other people enjoyed it. They're wrong, but...
You be nice to me, Dave. I finished another book this week. I read a book. Might not have been a good book that you would put on your list of high and mighty books, but it was a book.
Well, yay for you. I'm glad that you've become literate. I mean, like, that's all I've ever wanted.
Hey, I've always been literate. I've just not had the time for my literary pursuits. I watched quite a few films this week that actually gave me pause to think about how they are sold, marketed, recommended among movie fans. Like, there are 3 films this week that, whether you've noticed or not, they have had the word horror used with them at some point. And I can't mind if I've mentioned it before. It's Night Bitch, which I liked. I know a lot of people were cold on. I really enjoyed it. Hypochondriac, which landed on Shudder. And there's another film that I'm sure loads of comments will just be from people saying, well, it's not horror. Don't know why it's not on here. And I watched The Girl with the Needle, which I believe you'd seen as well, Dave, already.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah.
And I think you predicted that I might like it more than you. But I did,
yes.
I don't know. I did like it, but I didn't love it. Because it's generally, I think there's more interesting stuff that isn't explored because of where it's going with the main storyline. Like, I think the stuff with the character's husband is, arguably that's a better tangent to go on and to maybe intertwine more with whatever else is going on. But like, I think it's good. It looks nice throughout, and I think it did a good job of implying a lot of things and then having just one or two moments towards the end that really like they are quite shocking in what they just overtly sort of reveal, bring to the forefront, clarify, if you will. So I liked it for that. But yeah, all three of these films I've seen at least at some point mentioned with the word horror tagged to them. And although there are elements in them that are horrific, or there are things to do with the subject matter that I can understand why they could be under the umbrella of horror, I think it does a disservice to them by setting up expectations for people who are after pretty standard, straightforward, pigeonhole ticking horror stuff. I don't think any of these three films would do that for people. And some of the responses to them, I think, have been from people who are like, well, this isn't a horror that I expect it to be. And I'm wondering if it's, always for the best to try as much as possible and not really feel the urge to label everything with a genre. I don't know, have either of you seen Hypochondriac?
Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah, right. Again, I know there are elements in that, but to me, it felt it was a very straightforward psychological drama, really. And I mean, I thought it was distinctly average. It looked nice, and I think that writer-director has promise, but I don't think they really hit the mark with that. But I just know it's landing on Shudder, and everyone will be dying to watch it, and then just upset that it doesn't count as a horror for them. And Night Bitch was kind of maybe it was because people didn't really know what to expect from it, but I'm sure I saw it mentioned as like a dark comedy horror when it was certainly when it was first coming out. I'm like, oh, but I started to watch the trailer and then just think, I'm not getting that vibe from the trailer, so that's fine. I'll see just how things play out, and I really liked it. If people hadn't gone further, they might not have thought about that.
To be fair, I didn't hear anybody call Hypochondriac a horror film. I did hear the words psychodrama a lot.
Right, which
that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen it mentioned as well, but then again, I may have seen it mentioned as a horror by many people saying, I don't know why it's on Shudder, I don't think it's a horror. So maybe I've just been skimming through and seen the word horror a lot by people moaning because it's not a horror.
That could be. That seems possible.
Other than that, I have also been trying to make time for some more TV, because there's good TV out there, and according to Dave, I probably don't watch it. But I watched episode 2 of season 2 of Severance as well. I'm still enjoying Severance. Dave, I will make time soon to really try and delve into the world of Star Trek, because that's why
there's that. I mean, while you've got Apple Mythic Quest, there's a new season coming. You should catch up on Mythic Quest, but whatever.
There is, yeah. No, I finally watched Mythic
Oh,
Quest.
did you?
Remember?
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't. I'm so used to you disappointing me that
yeah, exactly.
I've blocked out all the good things.
Yeah, I've enjoyed Mythic Quest, so the new season. Like I like so many of the Apple shows. I tend to go there most of the time for the TV shows to do, and I tend to enjoy them. I can't recall if you actually checked out Bad Monkey already.
No, because I'm between having. Okay, my thing with Apple is I'll get it for a couple months, binge everything, and then leave it alone for a while, and I'm in a cool off period. I know you told me to check it out, and it's high on my list when I get Apple again.
Yeah, with the sort of the proviso that I know Vince Vaughn might irritate you by being kind of Vince Vaughn-y,
Well,
but from what I understand of his style, it is the sort of form that comes closest to Carl Hyacin.
it is what comes close to Hyacinth. So,
adapting his work properly. It's a very, very good mix of cool heat and humour. That was me. There was one bit of homework that we all did, sort of. I thought we were going to do, but I'll mention that later.
Yeah, I thought we were just going to wrap it into the main line, but then combo breaker. This week, we pay tribute to the brilliance that was David Lynch by taking looks at his second feature, the 1980 biographical. I almost said biological. I'm so tired. Biographical drama film, The Elephant Man. The 1999 biographical drama, The Straight Story. The 2002 web series, Rabbits. And his short that was featured in Lumiere and Company called, what is it? Premonitions Following an Evil Deed. Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to pick a movie and tell us about it?
I would love to. I'm going to go with The Straight Story.
Ooh.
Which is about Alvin Straight, a 73-year-old who learns that his estranged brother is critically ill and he's unable to drive. So Alan embarks on a journey from Iowa to Mount Zion by riding a lawnmower. So this is like truly one of the most heartwarming films ever made. Two words you don't hear very often when discussing the work of David Lynch. Lynch's filmography is filled with movies that always have this lingering feeling of dread throughout. Something like Lost Highway, for example, or Fire Walk with Me, which is my all-time favorite David Lynch film. But yet The Straight Story still manages to be one of the most unique films and one of the most unique filmographies from any filmmaker. It's a simple story, but it's such a beautiful, sweet piece of cinema. It's tender and wholesome. Richard Farnsworth is incredible. Just what a wonderful, wonderful performance. And knowing he was sick while filming this almost just brings a tear to my eye every goddamn time I watch this movie. He's fantastic. Sissy Spacek is great, but when is she not? I love Sissy Spacek. The score is amazing. The cinematography is stunning too. I mean, those vast landscape shots, man, just absolutely gorgeous. This might be the prettiest looking film in David Lynch's entire filmography. Just at first glance, it might not look something like a David Lynch film, but it is very much his. I mean, his themes are still pretty heavily present. They're just presented in a very lovable kind of way. But yeah, The Straight Story is amazing, amazing stuff. It's the best Disney David Lynch film ever made, and it's the only one that exists. So it's fantastic.
This was a first-time watch for me. I think you both had seen this before. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's one I've been meaning to get to for years, of course, and I heard it was atypical for Lynch and just nice and sweet and straightforward. I hadn't made the time for it. One of those things. But yeah, I'm glad we did. I saw something online in this past week, and it was a screenshot of some social media post from someone. I can't recall who it was, so I apologize if they ever hear this. and are uncredited. But it was about Lynch doing Twin Peaks and basically using Cheryl Lee for a couple of quieter moments, and then how she was in Fire Walk with Me. And they're like, that was like Lynch did all that knowing he had that talent hidden away in his back pocket and would just use it so much later. It's like, imagine doing that and just knowing that. And I couldn't help thinking of that with the Straight Story, because I'm like, yeah, Lynch could always do this. Lynch could always do pretty straightforward Americana. He could always do emotions and humanity. And it's just the fact that a lot of his stories are wrapped up in surrealism, and a lot of them are much darker than this, that obscures that fact. But in a way, you could easily watch this as on the end of a double bill with Blue Velvet. And one is showing you the dirt and darkness just under the white picket fences and then in the closets buried away. And the other one is showing you the life that can carry people through the country and interconnect them. But they're two sides of the same coin. They're Lynch looking at people and America, the country, and how they live and breathe through one another. I think it's wonderful. Like he's masterful with human emotions. There's a moment in this film where Richard Farnsworth is, I'm getting an emotional thing about it now, genuinely. He tells a story about Sissy Spacek's character with her children. And it's one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking little things I've ever heard and watched in a film. I'm not lying to you. I've just had tears spraying out my eyes just thinking of that. So I didn't think about this again after I watched it. I waited to get my thoughts. It's beautiful. It's delivered beautifully. It's genuinely heartbreaking, and it's about a character who you've kind of seen flutter about the screen, and you've sort of dismissed as a viewer. You've enjoyed Sissy Spacek on screen, be like, right, that's her bit. Now it's Richard Farnsworth going cross country on his little mower. That's a film, and it's not. Richard Farnsworth tells this little story, and you're like, oh my God, Rose, that you get a thumbnail of a whole shattered window of a life, and it is absolutely just astonishing. Now, this wasn't written by Lynch. It was written by John Roach and Mary Sweeney, and that's just phenomenal work there as well. But I've got to say something that Tyler will hate now. I couldn't help as well comparing Lynch to Wes Anderson in the way that both are directors that have their own unique visions and will use actors in specific ways for them. But for The Straight Story with Lynch, it's wringing every drop of sort of authenticity and emotion out of them. Whereas in a lot of his other films, he might have things done in a heightened way or a very stylized way that some people don't appreciate. Now, I know I'm not saying it's the same as Anderson's approach. I'm just saying they have their visions that almost make them directors who are very much puppeteers of their actors. That's the way I view it anyway. And The Straight Story kinda falls in line with that, but just shows Lynch's absolute mastery of everything. Even like the last scene, which I don't want to spoil for others who maybe haven't seen it yet, and you really should. Like it's one to watch alongside all of the other David Lynch movies you may have watched in the past week or so. The last scene here, as fans of Lynch's filmography and friends that he's had for life, it seems. It's another just lovely little smile-raising moment. This was lovely. This was a great week watching these films in celebration of Lynch and like seeing the familiar stuff that I'd seen before and being able to appreciate it anew, and just having this glow in my heart that even attached itself to all of the memories of times when Lynch has scared the crap out of me and freaked me out as well.
I'm assuming you're done there. So
yes.
Okay, awesome. Just checking before steamrolling. I've heard the straight story referred to as lesser David Lynch, and the honest truth is there is nothing lesser about this film. It is an incredible work. The screenplay is fantastic. The acting is top tier, like all around. Almost everyone in it is brilliant. I guess the only weak spots you could argue is the comic relief scene with Chris Farley's two brothers. I mean, they're fine, but it's a scene. It's brilliant. Sissy Spacek's performance as the daughter is Rose is probably one of the best performances by a neurotypical person playing someone who is neuroatypical. She does it with a lot of compassion and honesty and doesn't try to be showy or look at me, as often happens in movies with characters like that. He says, recalling so many Oscar desperate performances over the years. But she's brilliant. Her performance is amazing. Everett McGill has a small cameo. He's fucking great. In his small cameo, he's fucking great in everything. The rest of the cast is filled with reliable performers who have popped up in things forever. A lot of solid actors appear in this, giving solid performances. But really, the draw here is Richard Farnsworth as Alvin Straight, it is probably one of the best performances ever put on film. Last week, Tyler made us watch, and I'm using air quotes over this, a character study, which, while I appreciate people like that more than I do, there's not much character to the characters. Unlike this, where it is a deep, hard look at this person. And it gives you good glimpses into those that he encounters also. There's a lot of great little character moments. Farnsworth is absolutely brilliant. The fact that he did not get the Oscar this year for this is a crime. What makes it worse is this was the 72nd Oscar, so it was Farnsworth for The Straight Story, which is a brilliant performance, Russell Crowe for The Insider, which is a phenomenal performance, and Denzel Washington as the Hurricane, which is another brilliant performance. And they all lost to Kevin Spacey's shitty-ass performance in American Beauty. Because the Academy Awards are bullshit. At the end of the day, they're bullshit, and you don't need any more proof than that. Because Farnsworth's performance here is special. It is a next level performance. He brings this guy to life and gives him a humanity that is rare. The scene with him and the other old gentleman discussing their time in World War II and the things they regret is devastating. His scene with the hitchhiker is devastating. When he tells the story about his daughter, it's like all of this movie, it is a testament to an incredible character actor being given an incredible character, doing an incredible thing. And it is fantastic. If anyone ever tells you that this movie is lesser, smack them in the fucking mouth. There's nothing lesser here. It's brilliantly shot. It is well, now I'm going to use it to transition into our bonus film this week, which I wasn't planning on getting to this early, but so this co-stars Sissy Spacek, and her husband Jack Fisk was also the production designer for it. So, he was in charge of a lot of the look of the film. Production designer Jack Fisk is no stranger to the work of David Lynch, being an actor and co-star in 1977's Eraserhead, David Lynch's first feature, an independent surrealist body horror about a man that works in a plant, played by Jack Nance, and his deeply deformed child. Production designer Jack Fisk is the guy in the man in the center of the world, they call him, the guy with the levers that shows up a couple times. He also went on to be production designer of almost all of Terrence Malick's films, all except for, I think, his newest and the one right before it. How's that for a transition? That was smooth.
I'm very impressed, Dave.
I'm a fan of Eraserhead. I for what it is, it's ambitious, and it really goes for it in ways very few first features do. I'm not sure I fully understand all of it. Generally, I like to tell myself I understand what Lynch is doing in things, but this time I only sort of understand. But it's obviously about, fear. But that's just my view. I'm a fan, but I don't have much to say about it.
I know Tyler ended up being busy, and I understand it was a provisional extra, but I'd never seen it. You two had seen it before, and I never got into it. It's another one I've owned for years, but you're often just sitting there and even being like, oh, this crap has appeared on Amazon Prime. You don't often sit there thinking, well, I'm sitting here with my dinner, I'll just stick Eraserhead on for 80 or 90 minutes. That's the only reason. No,
I've done that.
No. I was blown away by Eraserhead though. So it's made in 1977. It's Lynch's first feature. I really, really was impressed and freaked out by the baby. Like, I've seen obviously images of it. That thing, for how unreal and nightmarish that is, it looks so real. It's brilliant. I meant to do some digging around on the production and the effects, like whoever came up with that, if it was Lynch himself lending a hand, try to just do everything on his first feature. But it is, you can't. I couldn't see the strings, as it were. I know you're seeing just like a small part of it because it's a baby and the swaddling it, but it was, it was phenomenal in that regard.
Here's a fun fact. You can buy plush versions of the Eraserhead baby. All over the place. So I suggest everyone buy and cuddle one.
I'm suggesting never do that.
Oh, most definitely. How?
I can't think of anything worse than having a plush Eraserhead baby in your home. Wow. It's like there are other effects that are not quite as well done, but still work in how Lynch is presenting everything. It's just really good and doing enough to create this nightmare world, this scenario, and yeah, I mean, it's a great film, and it is. I mean, it might sound a bit silly and obvious to say it, but it is as good a starting point as any for anyone who's just coming to the filmography of Lynch and wanting to explore, because there's a lot there. It didn't really feel like a first film to me, maybe because I'm already familiar with all of the things that Lynch likes to do, but it kind of is there from the start. Perhaps to a bit more of a surreal extreme than many of his other features, for the constant atmosphere of it. But it was, yeah, I mean, I was seriously impressed. And I was also impressed by the fact that it actually didn't feel as unrelentingly grim and dark as I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be perhaps too oppressive and never ending with the soundtrack and the wailing baby and all that. And there were parts that work on you and sort of try and grate your nerves a little bit. But it has a sort of fluctuation. There's a little bit of humor here and there. There are the little side trips, like the woman in the radiator is kind of it's a nightmare on the one hand, but it's also a little side trip where you're like, oh, that's fine. We're getting away from the really dark and squalid and shriek-filled room for a little while. So I wish I'd got to it sooner, but I'm glad I got to it now. And I forgive Tyler because he was better than me and got to it much sooner anyway.
I mean, I didn't watch it this week. I don't have notes in front of me, but I do love Eraserhead. I've seen it many, many times over the years. It's fantastic. I mean, that crying baby will haunt my dreams for the rest of fucking eternity. And Jack Nance is great. Like Dave, I also can't say I fully understand what it all means, but I think it might be the best safe sex ad ever. Meaning that when you fuck, wear a condom so you don't have a deformed alien baby that never stops crying. Or at least pull out, but that's not as effective as condoms, so you know. It's a brilliant debut, though. Weird, surreal, looks great, and it's amazing that he somehow managed to follow Eraserhead up with an Academy Award-winning biopic. But have you guys ever seen Combat Shock?
Yes.
Buddy G homages the mutant baby in that film, and I also love Combat Shock. So, but yeah, it's a great little homage to Eraserhead. So, but yeah, Eraserhead is fantastic. Just wonderful debut.
So, Kevin, did I ever tell you when I was a teenager, where I lived, you had to have cable to watch TV, and well, let's just say we didn't have cable, so one of the things that we watched a lot were the copies we had of Eraserhead. This is Spinal Tap. What else? What else? Eraserhead, This is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and Halloween got watched pretty much weekly at my house. I mean, so if you ever wonder what is wrong with you, Dave, that's it. If you're ever like, you should go back and rewatch something, Dave, and I start crying at the suggestion of rewatching something, that's why.
Wow.
That's all.
I'm just happy that story didn't end with you running about a room trying to stomp on your own sperm. Because I did think that's where that was going.
That didn't happen. I did wear out the cheap because Twin Peaks had two boxes. They had the big, I guess it was 14 tape expensive one. Then they had the 7 tape cheap one, which had like 13 episodes per tape, and that were terrible quality. And yeah, I wore 2 of those sets out in my teen years. I was so happy when I bought cable when I became when I got a job in high school. It was great. I'm just sharing, my past. So
T almost had the perfect segue there into the Elephant Man, and then he just left it.
I
I mean, I
know. Well,
I
no,
can go for the Elephant Man. If you want me to.
you can, but I was going to take one for the team and describe rabbits for you guys because I
Hey.
pulled the Eraserhead. I figured I'd take one and I'd do this.
Do it.
Rabbits is 2002 web series of 8 shorts, described as a sitcom. It does feature sitcom tropes such as the laugh track and applause when characters enter a scene. It is about 3 rabbits in a room, which is in a city that is deluged by endless rain, and they're occasionally visited by Rabbit Satan, I think. That's a good way to describe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 rabbits are played by Scott Coffey, Laura Herring, Naomi Watts. And if you go, hey, I've heard those 3 names together with David Lynch, it's because all 3 of them also star in David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. In one episode, the rabbit played by Laura Herring is played by Rebecca Del Rio, the singer-songwriter, who is also in Mulholland Drive. So it's... Huh?
Sorry, it's just is she the woman who sings the version of Crying? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
She's the stand-in singer. I think she actually... she's the only one in that short. So the 2 lady rabbits are Susie and Jane. One wears a dress and the other one a dressing gown. They speak in non sequiturs. And occasionally a male rabbit, mostly, is with them, named Jack. They speak in non sequiturs. They go over each other, and they never seem to connect. The laugh track is random and punctuating things that don't quite make sense. Their whooping and guffaws constantly increase for Jack, but not the women. I mean, there's a lot of winks and comments here. I pushed for us to watch this movie this week. Do you know why that is, guys?
Is this the year of the rabbit?
Is it?
I don't know. That was my random guess.
I don't think so. It'd be neat if it was. But no, because this was used as the stimulus in a psychological experiment, and I figured it'd be fun to run it on you guys. No, I'm not kidding. It really was. It was done to study the effects of acetaminophen on people having existential crises. Guess what? Acetaminophen suppresses our compensatory desire to affirm our systems of meaning, which surrealism seems to shake up. So if you popped a couple Tylenol before watching this and had a life-altering experience, congratulations. If you didn't, why the fuck didn't you? No, seriously, I fucking told you guys. Take some goddamn Tylenol first, but whatever. My plan to truly destroy you seems to have not worked, but I like rabbits. It's just a weird little bit of surrealism. I kind of love it. I love the set. I love everything about it.
I couldn't. This might make me sound stupid again. I fear that every other sentence I'm saying this week is making me sound stupid. But I'm watching rabbits, and I couldn't tell if it was shot in a stylized way with people in the suits, or if it was moving between like stop motion puppetry and actors. I just couldn't tell. And I'm saying it now as an extra compliment to like how Lynch sets it up, because I think it really like it can be viewed either way. I don't know. Dave, please enlighten me.
They're
Is
in the
this the
suits.
actors in the
Yeah,
suits?
it's the actors in the suits.
And I couldn't recall because I think all of us have seen Inland Empire as well, and I know this connects slightly, and I couldn't recall how much you see of this, or if you see them clearly in the suits with the rabbit heads. I just couldn't remember.
Lynch takes unused footage from this and repurposes it for Inland Empire, but its use is completely and totally different. Like, it's in a totally different context. It doesn't like he recycles it instead of connects the two. He makes it something else.
But I mean, others may disagree with me, but this, to me, this always looks like at least very close to being animated. Like, it's kind of a, if you didn't have the soundtrack and the scary music, it's a standard setup for the animated kids TV show that you'd have with a family of rabbits going about their day-to-day business. That's what it is. And that is another way that it sort of is juxtaposed with the dialogue just being random, the really spooky soundtrack. And I'm all about the music and like the constant rain and stuff and the ringing phone. It's just, it's these episodes about rabbits, and you're watching them just really feeling afraid, and there's not much that is directly fear-inducing. It's just, again, this is what I mean with everything we watched this week. Lynch's mastery, actually, of just manipulating you into feeling generally how he wants you to feel, whether it's a happiness, a sadness, a sense of fear, while you're watching what should be a few cuddly rabbits walk about in a living room. Like, I really like this. I'm not going to pretend to have made any sense from it. The extra random moments of the character who comes in and you get the lighting change and some strange growling sounds was, I mean, by that point, it just kind of felt like it was par for the course. I was like, yeah, this is a bit extra scary in terms of what it means for the characters who are stuck in that environment. But I'm like, yeah, that's let's not pretend we weren't expecting something like that to be happening occasionally. So I'm glad that I finally watched Rabbits. It was a good one.
I really don't know how to review this one. It's like I don't even know where to begin, because I feel like it's a short movie that's borderline impossible to review. I mean, we go from watching two of Lynch's most accessible films to Rabbits, which is probably the least accessible. Yeah,
which,
in the
again,
best possible way.
There was a reason.
In the best possible way, though. Like, I mean, I don't take Tylenol. I take Advil liquid gels, but I guess that can do the same thing, right? Same. But I was totally mesmerized throughout the entire 40 minutes of this, though. It seems like Lynch was trying to take a crack at society and their love of sitcoms, I guess. Or I read one that was really interesting. I read that Lynch kind of wanted to take a story about dead humans trapped in a purgatory nightmare waiting for their reincarnation, which actually makes a lot of sense when you watch this. I mean, that's actually a good reading of this film. I don't know if that's what Lynch was going for, but I like that reading, so I'm going to go with that one.
Well, that's what they represent in Inland Empire, so I don't think they do here. But that's just me. I could be wrong. Only one person knows, and they are never telling anyone. So
it's true. I love the use of those sitcom style laugh tracks, though. I mean, it made the atmosphere feel even more surreal than it already was. And I love the soundtrack. It's creepy as fuck. That soundtrack is creepy as fuck, and it's amazing. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say I fully understand what Lynch was going for, because then I'd be lying. But I think that's what makes the work of Lynch special. So yeah, I may not make the movie may not make sense, but who cares? It's Lynch, and that's what we love him for. It's good stuff. Rabbits is good stuff. It's a good short.
You know what? I was going to go for the more standard one, but I'll go for Premonition Following an Evil Deed, which is 1 minute long. I think it might have actually clocked in at just under 1 minute.
It's 55 seconds. All 39 segments of Lumiere and Company are 55 seconds.
And it shows some police walking towards somewhere. There's then a woman in a living room looking a bit concerned. There is a shot of something really weird going on in a laboratory, and then goes back to the room. Essentially, that's it. We don't normally just give plot summaries, but I felt it important to do that because, yeah, I mean, there's not much else to discuss about this. There were ground rules for this.
Correction, it's 52 seconds.
All right, okay. There were ground rules for this, and I believe it used an original camera because it was celebrating the 100-year anniversary for Lumiere.
Yes, and it used an original cinematography camera invented by the Lumiere brothers.
Right. So that's the reason for it. And I know it's, as you say, it was part of that larger collection. So they're all put together for the mid-90s. Sort of, I guess I've got to say it's an anthology, Lumiere and Company, celebrating that. It's fun because it's so short that you're figuring out what you've just watched and it's done, and yet it still feels like typical Lynch, but in a playful way. By the time it's ended, and I was thinking back on it, I was like, yeah, if I didn't know any credits, and then somebody came up to me after and went, "Oh, that was David Lynch, by the way," I'd just be like, yeah, that fits. But that scene that feels inserted in the middle kind of doesn't fit with other stuff, but then you just like, overall it does, because it's the juxtaposition, it's the atmosphere, it's just the absolute strangeness of it all really impeding into the more normal everyday. And I liked it. I liked the fact we could fit another little movie in, and it was under a minute. It gave us just a little bit more Lynch for the week. But yeah, it was good. It was it was just fun. I don't know if you'd I guess you would recommend this to people because you're like, oh, have you got a minute? Like, have you literally got a minute? Just watch this one. But it's I think it's not necessarily essential viewing. But then again, there might be people at the moment who are wanting to watch everything he's done.
Well, okay, this one, we should have done this when we did Twin Peaks, because it is essentially what Twin Peaks would look like if it were made at the beginning of film. It's the same setup, the same walking in, distraught family group. Like, I'm just saying, it's Twin Peaks, 100 years before Twin Peaks, done in 3 takes, in 52 seconds, with no synchronized sound.
Yeah. That would have been a fun extra to put on there. Did it? I've never even dived into the full selection of extras in my Twin Peaks set. Was it ever included in that, or has it just been kept separate?
You know what? I don't know offhand.
I wonder if it's one of those things that because it was done for the Lumiere thing, maybe then that's just like up to them.
Let me. I'm gonna say I don't think it did, but like it's covered by a lot of Twin Peaks podcasts. It's been whole episodes deconstructing every frame, which just sounds mind-bendingly tedious to me, but it does not seem like it's been released in a set. But again, I'm just taking a quick Google look, so I could be wrong. Anyway, the whole Lumiere and company is worth a look. I don't think we'd ever cover it just because of what it is, but it's interesting. It's interesting what everybody does with it. Like Michael Haneke does various shots of TV news exactly 100 years after they filmed Le Rêve du Train en Gare de la Côte. Patrice Leconte did a recreation of that same short film in the same station on the 100th anniversary of its filming. Spike Lee filmed his daughter. Wim Wenders does films two men looking at a cityscape. I'm trying to remember. The Liv Ullmann does it one that's really like they're all really neat. They're all 55 seconds. Merchant and Ivory just wandered the streets of Paris for a little bit. I mean, it's worth checking out if you have like an interest in film, like as art in and of itself. It's interesting. It's just interesting to see what folks did 100 years later with the original cameras.
Fun fact, you could push play on this and there would still be 33 seconds left. And that's how long I last in bed.
Damn, dude, that's still... I don't even want to say that out loud. Now I just made myself sad.
Highballing.
That's double my time, baby.
In all seriousness, no, it's only 55 minutes long and told within a few frames, but this is like some serious, unsettling, nightmare-inducing shit, and it's actually incredibly well edited with its transitions. See, maybe it's just me here, but I was getting some like serious Begotten vibes from this, both atmosphere and visually. And like I said, maybe that's just me, but I'd legit be shocked if Lynch wasn't a fan of Begotten. I mean, to an extent, Begotten feels like a love letter to Lynch, and this feels like a love letter to Begotten. It probably isn't, but still, that's what I took from it this time. It just doesn't feel like something made in the 90s. If you were to tell me it was a short film made from the 1920s, I'd fully fucking believe you. I wish it was longer, but at the same time, it's pretty perfect the way it is. So maybe not just 5 minutes longer, maybe. No, it's really fucking good. And it's so short, so you have no excuse not to watch it. So check it out. It's good stuff. Is that me going into Elephant Man? All right. So The Elephant Man is loosely based on the life of Joseph Merrick, a severely deformed man who lived in London in the late 19th century. So The Elephant Man was actually my introduction to David Lynch when I was a kid. I'll never forget the first time I watched it. It absolutely destroyed me. I was a fucking wreck, and it honestly still hits just as hard as the first time I watched it, dude. I always thought it was the most un-Lynchian movie, but now when I watch it, I actually see a lot of similarities to something like Eraserhead in this film. I mean, that opening scene with the elephants and Merrick's mother feels like true David Lynch. And the way Lynch touches upon humanity too. I mean, especially in this one, it's fantastic stuff. It's a movie that can show how cruel human beings can be, while at the same time it shows how loving they can be as well. The cast is amazing. Anthony Hopkins is fucking brilliant. John Hurt is phenomenal. One of the most heartbreaking performances I've ever seen in a film. It's amazing the emotion he can convey through all that makeup. I love that gorgeous black and white cinematography. It's a deeply, deeply sentimental film, and it never once feels forced. It's soul crushing yet completely inspiring. I mean, this movie is a genuine masterpiece. It's one of the best films of the 80s. It's just amazing, amazing stuff.
I think, similar to Tyler, this was my introduction to Lynch as well. I think so, because generally, if it appeared late night on TV or if it was taped off the TV, then it was kind of it was dark and disturbing and sad, but there's nothing here that's really too graphic or unsettling for majorly young viewers. Like, I wouldn't encourage you to sit down and watch this with a 3-year-old, but if you're a bit older, you can get through The Elephant Man. And yeah, as you get older and older, you get more from it. And again, as Tyler said, you see more of how this fits within Lynch's entire filmography and how it's not really too much of a side road from to go on. It's showing what he does and once again just brilliantly doing everything he sets out to do. But when I saw The Elephant Man, I didn't realize it was David Lynch, and I can't remember if I've told you guys this before. The big thing about David Lynch when I was young that I now remember again. So I didn't know who David Lynch was really until I want to say Twin Peaks Wild at Heart Time. I can't remember which was out in the UK first, but they were both getting sort of good word at the same time. I hadn't really heard of Blue Velvet. I was taken along to the cinema. I must have been about 8 years old to see Dune, and my mother and her partner. Like, I remember everyone kind of thinking this is going to be the next Star Wars. And they're all excited. But pick and mix, it was a grand event. This is going to be the next Star Wars. And about halfway through, I remember, I think at least my mother had fallen asleep. I can't remember if her partner had. And I'm fidgeting in my seat, like, when will this be over? Why is Sting wearing a leather codpiece? What is going on? This is not the Star Wars movie I wanted. So Lynch would probably chuckle at the fact that he probably gave many children very confused times as they were discovering different parts of cinema.
Different parts of Sting? Damn, dude.
Well, that's so I apologize for digressing, but I had to, like, that always just makes me laugh now that people really seem to think Jim's got to be an next Star Wars. Anyway, I always forget with The Elephant Man, I forget about the rest of the cast. I think Hopkins is great in this. Hart really is phenomenally good, but I forget how wonderful John Gielgud is in this, and Anne Bancroft as well. Fantastic. Forget Michael Elphick is in this being a real shit, and he's great at that. Of course, young Dexter Fletcher, he is in that. He was a young cast member for David Lynch back in the day. There are just so many people here though in smaller roles doing really, really great work. The cinematography is beautiful. It was, I'm going to mix them up, I think. I believe it was Freddie Francis doing cinematography, and it's Freddie Jones who's the actor on screen. I think I've got that the right way around. Because Freddie Jones plays I think he's the carnival guy.
Freddie Jones is indeed the actor on screen. He is Mr. Bites.
Right, and Freddie Francis did the cinematography. Is that right? Freddie Francis was associated with Hammer for many years, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I know the name Freddie Francis. So it's just, I mean, it is an adaptation, and Lynch helped to co-write the screenplay, but it feels like a perfect marriage of subject matter and a way for Lynch to once again explore aspects of humanity, but some really, really good stuff with the bad. And I like how the bad parts of this change, but people can learn from them as well. Like, there's a really good scene in here with Anthony Hopkins talking to the kind of the head of housekeeping. I think she's played by Wendy Hiller, and she's the one who says to Hopkins, it's different people kind of lining up to see him now, but he's still being used for that purpose to be shown to others, and it really sort of gets to the heart of what's going on at that point in the film, and then goes in a couple of different directions from there. The nightmare sequences here are, I think, they're more affecting because they are like they're just really unpleasant and saddening. I don't mean the nightmare sequences when when it is a dream. I mean when John Merrick is awake and being mistreated, like the times when his room is invaded by people coming to see him, and it's Michael Elphick's character leading folk that he will charge to see the Elephant Man. That's really distressing. And then his attempt to return from a distant location and just get through this journey on public transport and getting through public spaces without being seen or just harried by people around him is again really distressing, because like he just wants to get around and be left alone. But that's all offset by moments with Hopkins, moments with Bancroft, moments where through all that makeup and it's like a ton of it on him. John Hurt gives a performance that shows how beautifully moved and uplifted he is by having people he can consider friends, and that view him just as more than just his deformity. They see the nature of his spirit through his physical form. It's lovely. It's wonderful. This was one I'd seen before a couple of times, and it is always actually a really rewarding one to revisit, just as much as any other of the main Lynch titles that people can pick to watch.
Yeah, this one's excellent. The cast is great. John Hurt is absolutely amazing. Anthony Hopkins gives a great performance. Hannah Gordon and Bancroft are both great. John Gielgud is fantastic. Wendy Hiller is a treat in her supporting role. Our Kenny Baker pops up in the scenes in France. It is a really good one. This, God, I don't even know if this was this my first day. I think my first David Lynch movie was probably Dune. like on TV sometime in the late 80s. Because, you know, like I said, we had to have cable to have TV when I was a kid. So somebody probably showed me Dune when I got sick of watching reruns of Star Wars on USA. It's really good. It is excellent. It is beautifully shot, terrifically acted. John Hurt is just like, I gushed a lot about Richard Farnsworth's performance, and John Hurt's John Merrick is just as good. I mean, it is brilliant. His delivery and his performance is amazing. He again brings great humanity under, like, I think I read it took 8 hours to put this makeup on a day. He'd show up at 5 a.m. and would film from noon to 10. And it took a, you know, huge toll on him. And it's a remarkable performance. Getting that through it. And it's probably Lynch's most, I'd say that this might even be his most accessible film, even over The Straight Story. Because it comes right out and says what it wants to say about the human condition. The way it handles Merrick and his deformities is fantastic, especially everything up to the first, half hour before you actually see him. It handles it incredibly well. The way they tease it a few times leading up is excellent. And then the full reveal is fantastic. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about anything we watched this week, and that's like a minor miracle on its own. But they're brilliant, and smarter people than me have said everything to say about them, so I'm kind of at a loss.
I think this is another example of me being dumb, or maybe just forgetful. But I always watch The Elephant Man, and when Anne Bancroft appears, I'm always like, oh yeah, Anne Bancroft was a lovely looking and graceful woman. And then in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I wonder how she got involved with this. And then eventually I'm like, oh well, Mel Brooks is producing, so that might have fucking helped.
It did. Well, you know, here in the States, I have a copy of Lynch on Lynch, which if you've read the On series, it's directors being interviewed, talking in depth about their work. And Lynch on Lynch is excellent. I mean, not that he really says much because he's David Lynch and he wants to talk about other things. But generally, he's more open in this than he's in other interviews. And he talked about how, at least here in the States, they tried to like hide the fact that it was a Mel Brooks production as much as they could. Even though, you know, it says Brooks Films there's a title card for it because there has to be. And it says it on the poster, but they didn't try to go out of their way for it just because they didn't want people to think it was a comedy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine buying a ticket for The Elephant Man thinking it was a fucking comedy and seeing that movie?
You got to see the musical version that they did in The Tall Guy. It would be like the producer's version of Mel Brooks.
Could you imagine expecting some zany comedy and sitting down and watching him be abused in a sideshow for a couple minutes? I mean, that just ruined your night.
I think Brooks either made the decision or agreed with it so that people wouldn't like get the wrong idea, because he really had that firm faith in Lynch, didn't he?
Yeah,
making this film.
I'm not like in numbers. I don't know if it was the most successful Lynch film, but it's definitely up there. It made 5 times its budget back, and this is back in the days when you just had to make your budget back to be profitable. Everything after that was gravy. So before movie math got really complicated. But yeah, it's excellent, and the black and white cinematography is just gorgeous. This might be, you know, one of the first black and white films I remember seeing, but I did watch some older stuff, so maybe it's not the first, but it's up there. It's a great one, and The Straight Story is a great one, and Rabbits is Well, it is soul crushing and will cause you to have anxiety attacks, which I think is the point of it. So I guess they're all successes, but it's time to pick one, and it's going to be tough. You can't go wrong with any of them. So I'm going to go with the straight story just because Farnsworth is brilliant.
In the spirit of David Lynch, I'm going to have a Coke and pick Fire Walk with Me.
I mean, if we can do that, I would pick Fire Walk with Me.
No, you can't. Try that again.
I was gonna say, I mean, for me, it's a coin flip. So I mean, at this moment, I would go with the Elephant Man.
Yeah, like I think I have years of attachment to Elephant Man already. I'm not. See, people listen to this and think I was joking earlier or trying to exaggerate. Like I still feel emotional about bits of the straight story, and it's still affecting me just thinking about it now, which makes me think I kind of have to go for that, because even while watching it, I was feeling kind of emotional, but I wasn't feeling as strongly about it as I am now, which is odd.
I mean, they're both pretty fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I might have let you get away with Fire Walk with Me if you'd remember that there were also 2 cookies with that Coke, but you forgot. So fuck you.
Well, I didn't, because then I would try and lapse into some impression that would be awful, and we would just sully the good memory of Lynch there. So I didn't want to try that.
Well, it's a good try though. Go see both. Just go watch both. There's no wrong answer here. You pick one, and you're gonna have a fine time. I mean, Inland Empire might be the wrong answer, but that all depends on the mood you're in and how your emotional state is.
Are you not announcing for next week?
Oh, I forgot about next week. Yeah, no, you're right. I jumped the gun. Next week, it's me and Craig picking. I am going to make us watch Ricky O, The Story of Ricky. And after I told Craig that, he decided to be a bastard and undercut me with a true classic of the medium. We're pairing Ricky O, The Story of Ricky, with, I can't believe I'm about to say this, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Bomb.
Kubrick and Ricky O. Nice.
Yeah, I'm really wondering which one of us thinks the world's about to end more, me or Craig.
I was going to say, are we going to be able to laugh at Dr. Strangelove this week, or is it just going to be a sad reality that we're watching on the screen?
Well, I feel both are going to be a sad reality we're watching on screen.
Right.
So, I mean, I very much, Ricky O is my doomsday back pocket pick. Since I'm pretty sure we're going to get nuked out of existence, I was like, it's time to pull it out now. But apparently I'm not the only one that thought that. So, yay.
I've never seen Ricky O, so this will be your first timer.
Oh, I love Ricky O. You're going to fucking hate it.
I know.
That's why it's taken me so long to pick it.
Oh, it looks anti-Tyler, but you never know.
So anti-Tyler. I am so sorry.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. We have Kubrick too. We're on Instagram, Raiders_of_the_podcast. We're on Facebook, where I sometimes remember to post stuff on Wednesdays. We have a YouTube channel where you can like, subscribe, and comment on Kevin's awesome videos weekly. And we have a Discord. We have a Blue Sky, and you can always email us at raidersofthepodcast@gmail.com.
And if you email us with any suggestions, we will probably do it, because we are absolute whores for your attention. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
See ya.